Well, welcome to the January 25th Planning Commission meeting. Sorry I'm late. I apologize. I was at another meeting. Lost track of the time. But at any rate, I'm glad the other meeting was close to here. So at any rate, would you join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Curry and Mr. Haber are not with us today, so Mr. Rokuchi, here. Mr. Nader, here. Mr. Sevison is also unable to make it. Mr. Moss, here. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, report from the planning director.
It's snowing.
EJ?
It's snowing.
It's snowing somewhere, just not outside right now. Good morning, EJ Ivaldi with the Planning Services Division. So welcome back. We've been on a little long stretch since our last meeting, which was December 14th, if you remember that. So as we move into the new year, as you know, two planning commissioners will not be returning this year. Fred R. Curry, who is representing District 1, and Mero Haber, who represents District 5. Really enjoyed the input that both these gentlemen provided on the commission and their decision making. So I want, even though they're not here, I want to thank them both just publicly for their public service this past year. It was a good year last year. So Board of Supervisors meetings, there's no land use items to report back from the two meetings that they've had this year. They met on the January 9th and January 23rd. They were up in Tahoe on Tuesday. But one thing I do want to report on is that the Board of Supervisors, they did appoint a new CEO. His name is Todd Leopold. Mr. Leopold has more than 20 years of public sector experience, 17 of those in county government organizations in Colorado. Most recently, he served as a county manager for Adams County in Colorado. Before becoming county manager, he served as a deputy county manager overseeing public works, planning, community and economic development. He officially started Monday. We actually had him here at CEDRA yesterday during our current projects review meeting, so he got a full-on presentation of all the projects and programs that the agency is working on right now. So that was turned out to be a really good meeting. Todd brings a lot of expertise to the county, so we're looking forward to his leadership down the road. For Planning Commission, as you remember back on December 14th, we did have the Gary Davis appeal that your commission denied. Mr. Davis did not appeal that decision to the Board of Supervisors. So what staff will be doing now is working with Mr. Davis to comply with that condition of approval and meet the parking requirement or pay the in lieu fee. The next scheduled meeting is February 8th, which we don't have anything on that agenda yet unless we continue anything today, and that is a date that is determined to be a good meeting fit. The following meeting, February 22nd, that's when things start picking up. We're going to have a workshop on the Sunset Area Plan and Placer Ranch. We're also going to have a workshop on the somewhat inclusive zoning text amendment. There's also a Granite Bay project, and we're also trying to get on the agenda a code enforcement appeal, cannabis related, which will be the first that the commission will see. So if there's any questions on schedule, I'll move forward. The next order of business is selection of officers, and so I'll step aside and let you gentlemen start that process. And we should probably start with the chairman selection.
Okay, well, let me see. Normally we have a list here, but if memory serves, normally what we do is we kind of pass it on to an order that is pretty standard in terms of who comes next and who was last and that kind of stuff. And so if my memory serves me right, the chairman for the Planning Commission for 2018 would be Wayne Nader, at least since what we'll put into the motion. And then we normally have, secretary? Vice chair. And
Chairman, if we'd like to do these one at a time, we can start with the chairman and then the vice chair and then the secretary.
secretary?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we nominate that Wayne Nader be the chairman for the 2018.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call?
Hope not.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Nader,
Yes.
do you want the chair now?
We can go ahead and go through them and then I'll take.
Okay. Nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Jeffrey Moss for vice chair.
Second.
Almost didn't get a second there.
Okay.
It was coming, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the next position is secretary, I guess?
I think because of vacancies and what have us, the order that typically goes probably isn't gonna work so well for us this time around, but I would like to reward Mr. Sevenson for not being here today by nominating him to be secretary.
I'll second that one.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, are you ready to change? See, I just been fired. That's because I was late. Oh.
We don't like to call it fired.
Okay, we won't call it
We
fired.
gave you the opportunity to resign.
Okay, well, good luck, Wayne.
Thank you, Richard.
We got the
appreciate
good
it.
president coming up
Yeah,
here.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I first,
See, I got a great set of keys here.
yeah, that would be for me. Thank you. Or anybody else who needs to go into the back. First, I want to thank you, Richard, for your last year of leadership for us and keeping us on track for the year. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to echo EJ's comments on both Merrill Haber and Frederick Curry. I appreciate the input that they gave during their time with us. They were certainly engaged and gave some valuable thoughts as they were with us on our items. So I appreciate their service to us and wish them both the best. A couple of things I'd like to talk about before we get started. I know we need to move on through the agenda, which get that in front of me. The one thing that I think that all of the commission members will agree that we've been trying to address in the past, I think is getting more intense now in California, and Placer County is certainly not immune from this, is the issue of safety for our residents, particularly fire safety. 2017 was probably the most devastating year in memory for California, with, first of all, tragic loss of life. And in addition to that, over 10,000 homes were destroyed. The fiscal impact is still being measured, but it's huge. And I think that, again, as a commission, we've really tried to look at, because Placer County is blessed with some terrific geography. When you think about all the way from the farming areas and residential areas in the west to the incredible Tahoe region, we've got a lot of wildland interface areas, which are obviously at great risk, and we need to be, I think, even more vigilant as we look at projects to make sure that we're doing everything possible to ensure safety for those people in those communities and not to make the situation worse. And I think the other big issue, obviously, that I think we've obviously had discussions on, especially as it relates to workforce housing, is the housing crisis that's going on in California. Again, Placer County is not immune to that. We've seen incredible increases in property values, which are forcing more people to have to rent rather than to purchase homes, and that's driven rents up. And so, again, workforce housing and just affordable housing is I think a even more significant issue as we look ahead than we've had in the past. So it's something that I think is decision makers and leaders in this county, we have a real obligation to even more intensely really look at these subjects and see what we can do to help alleviate it. There's not a lot of easy answers to these, but it's something that we certainly need to be on top of. So just want to open that with my comments. So again, we'll move on through the agenda. The next item up is public comment before we have the opportunity for somebody to come up and speak on anything not on our agenda today. Something I would like to implement going forward as it relates to any public comment, whether it's during the first part of our agenda or during each item, is that I'm going to take a hard line on the 3-minute time limit for people to speak. I've asked that the timer be put up for each meeting, and I will certainly alert people at the beginning of the meeting to put their thoughts together and be prepared to deliver that in 3 minutes. So it's in the interest of everybody's time that I would like to try to, again, to adhere to this. And so I will, again, alert people as we have at the beginning of each meeting that that's going to happen so that it doesn't come as a surprise when they come up to speak. So, anybody from the public would like to speak? Yes, I mean, Richard, would you like to say something?
No, Putin would describe you as a hard liner, I guess. But the chair, and
right.
after that corollary, the chair does, if it looks like the person can't get through it in 3 minutes or is representing a group, obviously the chair has the
Discretion
to
yes,
allow
absolutely. Sure.
Extra time.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm going to try to, as much as possible, adhere to the 3 minutes because I think it's, again, in everybody's interest to keep people focused and not drifting off on rabbit trails. And with that said, anybody who would like to make a public comment now that's not on a subject on our agenda? Not seeing any, we'll move on to the consent agenda. What is the desire of the commission on the consent?
Well, we have one item, which is the approval of the action agenda for December 14th, so I would move approval of the consent agenda unless there's more discussion on that. Anybody?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Vote?
Roll call?
Yeah. Do we need to do a roll call for that one?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I have a motion by Mr. Rokuchi and a second by Mr. Moss. So, Mr. Rokuchi,
Yes?
Mr. Nader,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to our 10:05 item, biogas energy, bio-oil technology. And I guess we're going to hear from Patrick.
Good morning, Chairman Nader and Commissioners. I'm Patrick Dobbs from the Current Planning Division, and I'll be presenting the Biogas Energy Bio-Oil Technology Demonstration Project. This is a request by the applicant, Mr. Brian Gannon, for a 2-year temporary conditional use permit for the installation and operation of pyrolysis equipment. This is a bioenergy pilot project that processes waste wood into bio-oil. That bio-oil can then be refined into diesel fuel, which is compatible with today's diesel engines. The project is located at the Western Placer Regional Sanitary Landfill. This is in the Sunset area of Western Placer County, between the cities of Lincoln to the north and Roseville to the south. Here is an overhead of the property. It's approximately 314 acres. Athens Avenue runs along the northern border. Fittyment Road runs along the western border of the property. The site serves the waste disposal and recycling needs of all of Western Placer County and the cities of Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, Auburn, Colfax, and the town of Loomis. It is currently zoned farm with combining special purpose and combining minimum building site of 80 acres. Surrounding parcels have similar zoning. This parcel, the 155-acre parcel immediately to the east, includes the Development Reserve Combining District. That is part of the designated landfill expansion area for planned levels of full development. The immediately surrounding parcels are either vacant or used for agricultural purposes. The county has existing land use policies that restrict some types of land uses because of the potential incompatibility with this large waste processing facility. There are a few developed properties nearby. About a half mile to the northeast is a small 5-lot industrial subdivision. A mile and a half east on Athens is the Thunder Valley Casino, and just around the corner from that is the Rio Bravo biomass facility.
So most of the brown area that you see on the property is landfill. These are massive modules that are either filled or they're working to fill down here, or there are some areas that are just for future growth. But I want to kind of draw your attention to this northwest corner in the yellow box. The picture on the left-hand side of the slide in yellow is a blow-up of that section. And that's the materials recovery facility portion of the site. And this is where kind of the hub of activity, if you will. It's where the sorting process begins. Most of the trucks, once they come in and weigh in, go into this white roofed building. The garbage is dumped onto the floor, and loader operators start separating it right there. They put like materials together and start stockpiling recyclables. The products that are not pulled out by the loaders are loaded onto this intricate system of conveyor belts. There's magnets and people that are sorting out recycled material. And the material that we're interested in for this project is the organic waste. You can think of it as forest and landscape type materials. This is yard waste, tree limbs. There's a mountain of Christmas trees out there right now. But it also includes urban biomass, so things like wooden pallets and construction and demolition material. All of that's organic waste, and it's kind of staged in this area of the property down here, their organics recycling area, before it's ground up and processed. And I mean, for instance, some of these darker brown rows of material, I mean, there are just acres of compost material out there. And so the authority sells the byproducts, the soils and other landscape materials that there's a market for. I do want to draw your attention to this red circle down in the lower portion, and as it relates to the larger property, this kind of gives you an idea. This is where the project site is located, so you can see it's internal to the property. But before I leave this kind of higher level view, I just want to talk about the agency that's in charge. That's the Western Placer Waste Management Authority. They're a regional agency established in 1978. And they contract out the site or operations to a company called Nortec. As you might expect, there are many significant challenges currently facing the Waste Management Authority. On a state level, there is legislation such as Senate Bill 1383 that requires the authority to significantly divert the amount of organic waste away from being landfilled. At the local level, there is increasing pressure for future development within the existing buffer area, and that has implications for odor control costs and other considerations. And on top of all of that, there are shrinking markets for a lot of their byproducts, like the wood waste and other byproducts. So the authority is looking at updating, or is currently updating the landfill's master plan, and successful implementation of this bio-oil project could be informative to the long-range planning that's currently underway to optimize the longevity of the landfill. And so along those lines, in 2015, the Waste Management Authority's board approved the concept of providing space and resources at the landfill for these type of pilot-scale projects that have potential to support new technologies and may help increase waste diversion rates, expand and diversify markets for recovered products, produce alternative energies and fuels, and have other environmentally beneficial attributes. So zooming in kind of to the project site, the applicant, Biogas Energy, received or was awarded a grant from the California Energy Commission to research low carbon fuel, renewable fuels, and demonstrate the viability of this pyrolysis technology in terms of optimizing the conversion of wood waste into bio-oil. The project holds much promise by replicating successful implementation of a large-scale pyrolysis that has been operating in Germany for the past 9 years. This area that I've kind of highlighted on the screen is the small strip of land where the project is proposed. This is the construction demolition grinder next to it. These are rows of compost. And so the project would construct a 3,000 square foot concrete slab, and on this slab they would place 4 shipping containers that are pre-assembled with the pyrolysis technology before they arrive at the site. There is one temporary modular office. There's a staff member of 1 that will be there around the clock. There's also a 500-gallon propane tank that just kind of initiates the process, and there's a 3,000-gallon storage tank for the bio-oil that's collected. This use, or the county's land use that best fits the proposed project is petroleum refining and related industries, and that use is not permissible currently in the farm district. The code allows us, if a use is not permissible but is otherwise compatible with the site and operations, the code allows us to permit these types of uses as a temporary use, subject to approval of a conditional use permit. And because of the agricultural land use designation, it allows for a 2-year temporary use permit. And if the project is approved and implemented, the applicant would be eligible for a one-time 2-year extension. This is a picture of, from the ground of what that strip of land looks like that we're looking at from above. So this is the feedstock. Waste Management Authority will provide up to 10 tons of chipped wood waste to the project every day. The primary feedstock is this picture over on the left-hand side. This is referred to as the overs. This consists of larger and heavier plant material that didn't readily break down during the composting process, so it's kind of screened out at the end when they're separating their soils. And you can see that loader is loading up a truck. Most of that material is on its way to Rio Bravo to be incinerated and generate electricity. The picture on the right is a cleaner feedstock. This is chipped from larger diameter wood and pallets and construction and demolition material. So again, this is a research project. They're testing different types of feedstocks for success. And let me give you a quick overview of the pyrolysis process here. Pyrolysis involves the decomposition of organic material. The process happens very quickly. The equipment operates at high temperatures in an anaerobic environment, so without oxygen, and it results in liquids, gases, and solids. And so, as I mentioned, every day 10 tons of wood waste will be loaded into the reception hopper. This continuously feeds the pyrolysis equipment. Within one of these shipping containers is going to be a piece of equipment like is shown on the screen, and that disc rotates and is heated to 500 degrees Celsius. The feedstock is essentially pressed against that heated rotating disc, and the wood vaporizes. And from the vapor, the applicant estimates that the project could yield up to 1,300 gallons of bio-oil, or the liquids, every day. He's leveraged the grant in terms of collaboration with research laboratories. Sorry, I skipped a step there. That bio-oil will be piped into the 3,000-gallon storage tank, where then it will be transferred for research and refinement. And so the research component of that is the grants leveraged with collaboration research laboratories at California State University Chico and the Joint Bioenergy Institute in Emeryville to study a variety of renewable fuel and bioplastic applications and other best uses for the oil. And the bio-oil that's not used for research purposes will be loaded into tanker trucks and transported to fuel refineries every 2 days to be processed into diesel fuel. Just kind of stepping back for a moment, that the vapors that aren't precipitated out into a liquid are then circulated back in and recycled into the pyrolysis reactor, and that's what continuously heats the unit. So again, propane is used just to get it started, but once the process is underway, gas is recycled, and it's a very efficient process in that sense. The solids that come out of this is what's called biochar. They fall to the bottom of the unit. Approximately 1 ton of biochar will be collected each day and emptied as needed and blended with other compost materials that are already produced on the site and sold as a soil amendment. The project produces minimum noise. There are no odors. There's no wastewater. There are some emissions, but they're lower than levels of significance. Nevertheless, the applicant is required to apply to the Air Pollution Control District for an authority to construct permit as it relates to air quality. The process would operate continuously 24/7, 365 days a year, except for there will be scheduled maintenance, and as they swap out different types of feedstock for research purposes, the system would also be shut down for that. There are a number of conditions of approval regarding health and safety provisions for that. Again, I mentioned there's one staff member on site that will monitor the project at all times. There are many benefits would accrue from the extraction of bio-oil from forest and urban biomass and conversion of that biomass into diesel fuel that's compatible with today's diesel engines. State regulators are looking at this technology as a means to address the large quantity of biomass resulting from California's tree mortality, and also to comply with state-mandated renewable energy goals. Petroleum manufacturers and environmentalists are interested in the feasibility of pyrolysis to offset carbon emissions as it relates to the refinement process in the transportation sector. And the technology offers the potential to significantly reduce the amount of organic material at the landfill, while establishing commercially viable markets using renewable wood waste byproducts. And I do have Eric Otto here today with us. He is the Environmental Engineer Program Manager at the Waste Management Authority, and he's prepared to speak to the merits of the project if you wish. The project was properly noticed. No public comments were received. The project is exempt from environmental review under CEQA in accordance with the provisions for Class 1 regarding existing facilities. This is an existing landfill and material recovery facility. This small pilot project will not intensify the use, or the existing infrastructure is sufficient for it. The project is also eligible for categorical exemption under Class 3 regarding new construction of small structures. Again, this has a small footprint in non-sensitive lands. The structures could be considered accessory and ancillary to the primary land use operations at the site. The project is consistent with the Sunset Industrial Area Plan, landfill planning policies that promote compatible development of industrial uses to meet present and future county needs. And for the reasons I've described, the Development Review Committee recommends the Planning Commission approve the Biogas Energy Bio-Oil Technology Demonstration Project. It's file number PLN 1700342. And to do so requires two actions from you. First, find that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to sections 15301 and 15303 of the California CEQA guidelines. And second, approve the 2-year temporary conditional use permit based on the findings and conditions of approval and contained in the staff report. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can answer your questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions?
Patrick, you said that the conditional use permit will let this happen without the property being zoned correctly. We get 2 years, and they get 2 more on an extension if all goes well. After that, this has to go away, or they have to rezone the property, or where are we headed?
Thank you for the question. We are headed, and I think you'll learn more about this next month when you get the update on the Sunset Industrial Area Plan update that's occurring. But we're headed to a change in zoning from farm to eco-industrial, and a recognition of more of these recyclable uses being permissible permanently on the site.
So we've got a window we're preparing to let this stay if it's a successful operation then.
There seem to be a lot of upsides to the project.
Okay. Next question, if I could. This is, I guess, somewhat competing with Rio Bravo for the materials to utilize, or is there ample for both to function? Or?
That's certainly my understanding. This project at this scale is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. There is so much biomass out there. I'm sure Eric can speak to the volume of biomass that they have accumulated at the authority, at the landfill.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Patrick, I have a couple of questions on the technology. As I understand it, unless I missed it in here, I saw that it's, in Germany it's been used for a few years, so it's obviously somewhat proven because of that. Has it been done anywhere else in California or the United States?
I guess not that I'm aware of. The research I discovered was in Scandinavia, and Europe seems farther along in this process with us. We actually have a guest from Germany here today, and so I'm sure the experts can give you some other information of where this is happening. But this is new for our area.
Well, it's an exciting opportunity to break some ground for California and the country if this actually proves out to be a good process. Yep. Thanks, Patrick. Would the applicant like to make any comments, add any comments to what Patrick gave us? If you could give us your name, would you?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Brian Gannon. Our company is Biogas Energy. I'd like to thank the board for hearing us out, and I'd also like to thank the staff who have done an amazing job in understanding what we're trying to do and guiding us through this process. So Patrick did, what we're doing, and we're happy to answer any questions about the technology, about the process while we're here. But ultimately, we just want to express our gratitude for the work of the staff.
Okay.
I just have one question. Just one question, looking at that photo that had, not the digester, but that main unit in there, and you're feeding hot gas back into it. Is there any chance of explosions or something? Seems like that thing is all like it's a bomb ready to go off, with all that stuff and pressing all this stuff, and obviously under a great amount of heat and maybe even pressure. Is there any kind of a safety concern, I guess, is what, from the experiences in Europe or whatever?
Yeah, the way we process the gas that's produced is we put it into a flameless oxidizer, which produces the heat in an anaerobic condition without a flame. Mm-hmm. And this is a standard industrial technology that's been implemented around the world where safety issues have been taken into account. So it's not that there is any pressurized storage of the gas. It's used in the flux burner immediately upon production, and as soon as the gas is stopped produced, like if, for example, you stop feeding it material, then the flame immediately goes out. So it's not that we have some kind of pressurized storage for the gas. Okay. It's used continuously.
It just looked like, when you look at that photo, it looked like a pressure cooker to me. That's the only reason I was asking if there was any kind of a safety issue with the process.
Yeah, we've had almost a decade of operation without any.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Brian? Brian, I've got one question. Why did you pick Placer County?
Well, the short version of this story is that I've had a great experience working in Placer County as a consultant for different businesses on renewable energy projects. Our core business is building anaerobic digestion facilities, and we've built one in Chico and another one in Modesto. And we also do consulting for different technologies. And I was introduced to the authority through a client that I was working for here in Auburn. And when this solicitation came up from the Energy Commission, everything fell into place beautifully. There was a need from the authority for a pathway for disposal of all of this wood waste that's coming. The permitting seemed correct, all well. It's near enough to our office that we can get there in a day. So ultimately, it was a match made in heaven, and we're grateful for the opportunity to work with the authority.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Would we like to hear from anyone else? Eric?
From the public, yeah. If there's anybody that wants to.
I didn't know if any of the other experts you wanted to hear from them before we open it up. Okay. Anybody from the public like to comment? If you give us your name when you come out.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning. My name is Eric Otto. I'm the program manager with the Western Placer Waste Management Authority. I just wanted to mimic many of Brian's comments. Is first, express our gratitude to the Planning Commission for hearing this recommended permit today. A lot of gratitude towards staff, particularly Patrick. He's worked quite a bit with both Brian and the authority to bring this to this point, which we really appreciate, and certainly to Brian for bringing this technology to the authority in the first place. As Patrick mentioned, the authority is really working towards the future of providing these opportunities for emerging technologies as being almost like an incubator facility to help emerging technologies and new technologies really test in a real-world condition. And we're very excited for this opportunity to break ground with Brian on this and hope that this is one of many of these types of projects that your commission hears in the future. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else from the public like to comment on this? Okay, and I'll close this item, bring it back to the commission.
I'd just like to comment that the authority was working on this renewable stuff pretty hot and heavy. I mean, they have the gas coming off the hills there into the Energy 2000 plant over there doing electricity, and of course we have the Rio Bravo, which is, I guess, not directly associated with the authority, and then we have this. So I think anything we can get out there that'll reduce that solid waste going into the ground is a plus. And whether we have to be pushed by the state or not, I think it's a good idea that we do it on our own. So I want to congratulate the authority for looking at these different opportunities, I guess, to do this.
Thank you, Richard. Any other comments? We move on.
We ask for a motion?
Yep. Like somebody want to put a motion together?
I'll make a motion if
Thank you, Jeff.
so allowed. Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that, subject to the conditions attached, that the Planning Commission finds the project is categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to the provisions of Section 15301 and 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act, guidelines and sections 18.36.030 and 18.36.050 of the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance, Class 1 existing facilities, and Class 3 new construction of conversion of small structures as described in A and B below.
Okay, and I'll second the motion.
And that's supported by the findings contained in the staff report. Yes. Just to make that clarification.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff and Rich. Okay, it's been, our item is a motion and a second. Roll call.
I have a motion by Mr. Moss and a second by, was that Mr. Rokucci?
Yes.
Johnson.
Oh, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Asking for my vote.
Okay, so as far as your vote, Mr. Rokucci?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you.
You've got to give an appeal.
Well, do we have a second item? Do we need?
Yeah, I think we need to then make the motion to approve the 2-year temporary conditional use permit request for biogas energy, bio-oil technology demonstration, supported by the following findings in the report.
Second.
Including the conditions contained in the staff report.
Yes.
Thank you.
Isn't that what I just said?
Staff report. You
The
said
staff report, okay.
Thank you, Jeff and Richard. So we have a motion on the last part of this item. Can we have a roll call?
Motion by Mr. Moss and a second by Mr. Rokucci. Mr. Rokucci, on your vote.
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if somebody wants to appeal this, they have, 10 days? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And the appeal cost is $581, I think.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay. Thank you very
Bring
much.
their appeal here.
Okay, then we will move on to our next item.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Wish you the best success. Rolling Greens. And we're going to hear from Callie. Yeah, and I see we have a request on this item. So.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman. Callie Kettinger-Cecil with the Placer County Planning Services Division. Staff is requesting the Rolling Greens tentative subdivision item be continued to an open date in order to allow adequate posting time for the addendum to the previously adopted mitigated negative declaration.
Okay.
So we're just requesting to an open date.
All right. I guess I have a question because there may be people here who have come to comment on this. Are they just going to have to come the next time around, I guess, or is that?
I think you can you open public comment on this action?
Because it was agendized, we can.
Yeah, so maybe open public comment. I guess the question for the commission is we have 2 planning commission meetings coming up, February 8th and the 22nd. February 8th, we don't have anything on that agenda. So if you wanted to continue this item to that agenda, that would be to a date and time certain, or go to the February 22nd meeting, and maybe the applicant is here too. They may have some thought to that as well.
Okay. Any pleasure of the commission?
Okay. No, well, I was just going through my mind. I was thinking we didn't see an addendum, but that's what we're continuing this for, because we don't have the addendum.
The addendum is completed, but it didn't get attached to the staff report when it was posted and distributed, and the addendum needs to be part of that distribution. So continuing it will allow us to have adequate time for that posting.
So how much time do you need? To get it on the agenda, we had 2 possible dates or open date.
Yeah, we could meet either date. If it's continued to a date and time certain today, if it was going to be at the February 8th meeting, there doesn't have to be a re-notice of this, but we would post the actual complete staff report package 10 days before the hearing, and there's adequate time
Between
to
now
do
and the
that.
next meeting, scheduled meeting.
Yeah. So the question is, is the commission willing to come in for that one item on the 8th, or is it better to put that on February 22nd? When we have a full agenda and expect everybody here.
It seems like on the 22nd, you have a full agenda, really full, or what?
We have a pretty full agenda, so but nothing that I don't think is I think it would all be manageable for that day, even with this item.
Okay. I'd make the motion that we continue it to date certain on the.
That's the public, don't we?
Was the 22nd agenda?
We can do that.
February.
And for a time, we would ask at 10:05 on February 22nd.
Let me ask you, did anybody who's here come to speak on this item? Because you're the applicant, so that's not an issue because you obviously need to be here anyway. So, okay.
I'm a resident or a neighbor. Right?
Okay.
So I was just curious where, from this information that I received, I'm not clear of where I can see what their plan is.
Okay.
So we can speak.
Question.
Yeah, we can speak directly to the continuance matter, but any other information, we'll be happy to talk to her after the meeting to get her the information she needs.
Okay. Is that satisfactory? Yeah, great. Okay, very good. Then we have a motion on the floor.
Second?
Got a second? Okay. Roll call.
I had a first by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Moss. So, Mr. Rokuchi,
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Moss.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Great, thank you.
Well, we don't have any other items. That was a good way to break me in. Hardly anything to do today. So,
Yeah, we had you work hardly.
now, and at this point, we're not going to have a meeting on the 8th, so I guess we'll.
That's correct. So we'll cancel that meeting and we'll reconvene on February 22nd.
For a very busy day.
Yes.
Plan on it, huh?
We'll be here on time this time.
Sounds good.
What do you mean, we?
We,
We were here, you weren't here on time.
I will
Let's be
be
clear,
here.
let's be clear about that. Ex-president.
Okay, meeting's done. Okay, in case I needed to do that.